We are, generally speaking, a social creature, and I believe that our relationships have a great deal to do with the amount of self-esteem that we have. So in preparation for introducing the first idea related to increasing your self-esteem, I wanted to share about the stories that exist often in Eastern philosophy and so forth about the guru who's sitting on the mountain, and there's a seeker who climbs for many days and finally reaches the top of the mountain, and the guru looks over the seeker and says, come back in a year. Now, in these stories, the guru is not trying to be unnecessarily cruel or mean. It's just a matter of recognition of where the seeker's at, and it's not about saying that the seeker doesn't have potential to change or, is limited permanently, but you have to think about what you have to offer and what the other person is ready to receive. So the first concept that I want to introduce is about if somebody is obnoxious in some way, do not maintain contact with that person. Now you might think, well, I have to because I work with so-and-so, or I have a family member that's so-and-so. Well, if it's a family member, it's most important to not have contact with somebody as long as they're being obnoxious, rude, cruel, or whatever to you, because then that dynamic, if you see yourself as a martyr who has to be treated in some obnoxious way, you will continue to attract that in other relationships as well, outside of your family. When you deal with the core aspect of where are you receiving this low self-esteem from, then you can see other relationships begin to improve as well. And like fractals, whatever you're seeing yourself as worthy of, that will emanate out from you and create an attractive force. So you might as well improve that by getting rid of the people in your life that are currently being obnoxious. That doesn't mean that they might not change, but you also have to recognize and accept that change takes a lot of work and oftentimes will take a lot of time for the individual. So protect your energy by not entertaining obnoxious interactions in your life. And for those who say, well, I have to work with obnoxious people, unless you're enslaved in your current position and physically forced to remain where you are, then you do have choices. And you can continue to look for some other environment in which you feel nourished, or work for yourself, or do something that eliminates the kinds of interactions that you consider to be obnoxious. And also, you're going to be more likely to attract obnoxious work situations if you haven't dealt with your core family issues. You're going to attract obnoxious friends if you do not deal with the core family stuff, your family of origin. So deal with that directly and set boundaries and say, I'm not going to settle to be mistreated anymore. And so if someone is not willing to change, do not have contact with that person. And the second path to increase self-esteem is don't reach out to people who don't reciprocate. If you contact somebody and they either don't contact you, they ignore certain kinds of attempts at contact, or are sporadic, or take a really long time to get back to you, then it is better to not reach out. That person, you might still want to be there if you're in a healer type role or whatever, if they want to reach out and so forth, but don't invest where your investment is not returned, so to speak. If you continue to reach out for somebody that is not going to be a consistent source of mirroring and showing love through reciprocity, then that's going to diminish your own self-concept as being somebody who doesn't deserve that. And you could say, well, they're busy or whatever, but you know what the difference is between someone who's busy and somebody who's just not investing in you, in a relationship with you. So you don't necessarily have to, in my opinion, get rid of these kinds of relationships. A lot of times they'll just naturally fade away if you are the one that is reciprocate, or initiating the contact and not receiving reciprocity, then if you stop initiating the contact, a lot of times they just kind of fade and find their own place. Because we have to, especially in this very socially integrated world that we live in now with the internet connecting everybody and so forth, we have to make choices about what is the tribe that is best for us and where we're at. And it's not just about a quantitative approach to community leading to happiness. There's no correlation between the number of people you're in contact with and the degree of happiness that you feel. But there is a correlation between the number of authentic connections that you have in your life and how good you feel. And sometimes you may reach a point in which maybe everyone that you know is obnoxious or non-reciprocal, and you go back to yourself. And although we might think that's a horrible thing, it's actually a place of great healing. And if you need to let go to that point where you just have yourself, that can be a strong way of communicating to the universe that you're ready to not settle and you're ready to find more comfort with yourself, and that'll improve your own self-concept, increase your self-esteem to the point where you're going to be able to attract better relationships. So don't settle, and don't be a martyr. Don't punish yourself, and don't bark up the wrong tree. Thanks for listening.